Can you hear me, Ms.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Likewise.
Okay, so young scholars, we have the honor and privilege and celebration of Women's History Month to have Mrs. Angela Crump-Volcy as our guest speaker here at Olmsted. She is, well, full disclosure, she's a family, but more than that, she's a mother, a wife, she's a college graduate. She graduated from Syracuse University with a master's in public administration. She's also a law school graduate from the Georgetown Law School in Washington, D.C. She spent the bulk of her career working for our federal government in two areas, United States General Accounting Office and for the Department of Defense. During many of those years when she was working with the Department of Defense, we're close, but we couldn't even speak at times because of the secret nature of her work. But she has traveled the world, and she recently retired. As a result of retiring, she wanted to provide services to busy career women. And so she has launched her own motivational speaker business and has a platform. And today she has graciously decided to share her time, her wisdom, her knowledge with us in celebration and honor of Women's History Month. So without further hesitation, let me present to you Mrs. Angela Crump-Volcy.
Hi, everyone. It's a real honor for me to be here. Thanks for the clapping. Mr. Crump, I have one question. What time do we need to wrap?
Sure, that's a great question. We can start wrapping, I would say, about 10 minutes after the hour. The period officially ends about 1:15 or so. Okay. So, given, and I have some questions from our— I
heard. Gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna make this something hopefully that you all find value in. I remember 8th grade for myself. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Forbes, and she looked around the room like I'm looking at your beautiful faces, and she said to us, never forget you're someone, right? And for some reason, how she said it or when she said it, it really went into my heart. And I took that with me as I progressed through my career. So what I wanted to do first was tell you a little story about me and how I grew up, and then tell you about my travels. I sent some pictures over to your teacher and I've got them on my computer, but I'm sure that everyone in the room is more computer savvy than me. So I might leave those for your teacher to show you unless you really want to see something, but I've got photos of different places. Okay, so to start the story, I'm now 58 years young. And according to the New England Journal of Medicine, for those who think, oh my God, that's old, when you hit 60 is when you're really supposed to start living. So you all are really at the start of your career, okay? And my assumptions are that you're probably age 13, 14, 12, somewhere in there. Am I right? Can I get a thumbs up? Is that correct? Okay, so good, I'm in the right neighborhood. So here's the secret. Last night, as I was prepping for today, I was like, oh my God, what do 8th graders care about? So you know what I did? I went on social media. I posted a little reel. I just learned how to do that a week ago and asked, does anyone know 8th graders? And then I went on my Facebook to ask questions and I got some insights. And what I learned is that you're just like a lot of people. You're curious, you're intelligent, you know social media, you like extracurricular activities, and you ask great questions. Now, for me, what I love about each of you is that you're my future. You're our future. You represent the best of the USA. And so I hope in the time that we're together, if I leave you with one nugget, it would be that you're worthy. You're worthy of anything that you put your mind to. And you can accomplish anything that you set out a goal to achieve. I started off unknowingly poor in Baltimore City, right? The reason I said unknowingly, we had a big house. My dad was a pastor, and he had a belief that you serve the poor. So whatever we got, my father and mother would put it together. We would go into the inner part of the city and we would give away food, give away clothes. It looked really good if you were the one getting the stuff, but I'm like, well, what about me? What am I going to have to wear to school? And I distinctly remember starting the different years of school and saying, shucks, I don't have anything new to wear. And I had an aunt and an uncle, he was a doctor, so they were considered rich. I would pray like heck, dear God, let them send something it would be in a brown or a black trash bag with mothball smell. And I would pray, let it get here early enough so that I can air it out to have something quote unquote new to wear to school, right? That's my first memory of not really having certain things. But the reason I didn't know that we were suffering, we had plenty of food, we had plenty of love. My parents just, all the money they had, it went to help other people. And so during those years, I knew that I wanted to go to college because I didn't like not having enough, but I really didn't know who and what I wanted to be. And as the years progressed, my dad, being a pastor, he wanted to build a church to help people in Baltimore City, a big church, right? And so they started a restaurant called Micah's Soul Food. Now, if anyone here likes Southern cooking, it was fried chicken. Hope you all have had lunch, macaroni and cheese, candy sweets, lake trout. It was really good Southern cooking. But my father and mother thought that it should be homemade. So me, my brothers, and some of our other friends, right? We were, in my opinion, the unfair laborers, right? And I was in there at a very young age, probably before 13, cutting off fish heads and gutting them. And each time I would do it, I would say to myself, I'm going to college. I'm going to college. And then eventually I got promoted to the sweet potato pie machine, right? Where you put the dough in the little pan and you pull this lever. And each time I would do it, I'm going to college. I'm going to college. That's another big memory in my head. The third memory for any of the young ladies in the room, I grew up with 5 brothers and I brought a little show and tell. Okay. Can you all see that picture? Okay, great. So these are my gorgeous brothers and my one sister. She's the one sitting on the guy's lap with she has a slightly more cinnamon complexion. Okay. So I grew up with 5 brothers and my sister didn't come along until I was already 12. Well, here's what happened to me when I was maybe 10, 11, 12. I can't remember which age I was, but I didn't like it. My father, seeing us playing football and the guys, you know, you tackle each other, right? And I was just as good at all the sports as my brothers. I think one day I must have gotten tackled by a guy and I don't think he liked it because I was his baby girl, right? So all of a sudden, my mother instituted a new rule that I had to come in the house and make dinner while my brothers and all their friends got to play outside. I was pretty miffed, like mad miffed, right? But I couldn't do much about it except I'm going to college. I'm going to college. So from the age that I can remember of say 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, I put my mind on college as a way not to cut fish heads, not to have to press sweet potato pies, and to be able to play sports when I wanted to, instead of I felt because of whatever. I thought it was my gender. My dad had me in the house. My brother told me later, Daddy was just trying to protect you. Why do I share all that? Every one of us has a motivation for what we want to be in life. My motivation may not have been as great as it could have been. It helped me to get where I am today, right? I've traveled the world. I've lived in England. I've lived in Thailand. I've lived in Japan. And if you name a country, except for like the places near Russia, I probably visited it. But here's what I'd like to give you as the first tip. Whatever you really love, don't throw that away. Try to find a way to incorporate something that you have a passion and a love for into whatever you do. Here's example 1. I always loved travel. We didn't have a lot of money, so my mom would borrow someone's car and load us into it, and then we drive somewhere in the US, and we'd have food in the trunk, because back then, if you were of color, you couldn't always stop at restaurants. but I love seeing new places, right? So I knew whatever I was going to do, it had to have travel. And every job that I applied for, it had travel, which is why I got to live all over the world. If you love something and it's your passion, keep it in your heart. Find a way to protect that because it's part of who you are. Denzel Washington once said, if you've got that dream in your spirit, if you've got something that you just can't let go right before you go to bed or when you wake up, it's in your spirit, it's the gift that's in you that only you can give to the world, okay? So if you love something, keep that in your spirit. The second thing I would share with you is to say to yourself, ideally, I say this every day. I tell myself, it's possible. It's possible. Now you may be thinking, well, how am I going to get myself to, you name somewhere you want to go, or you name something you want to be. And it could seem like the gap is so big that you're like, man, she's like, taking some medicine. It's messing with her. It might not be possible. I want you to think, and in your spirit, it's possible. Because there's research that shows what we think about, we bring about. So when I was sitting there mad about not getting to play sports, feeling like we didn't have enough money for me to get new clothes for school, and really wishing I could go and see more of the world, I'm grateful that instead of saying, why are we so poor? I thought, I'm going to college. Unknowingly, I was thinking towards my future. My motive for it might not have been so good, but it accomplished that goal because I was determined. I didn't want to do fish heads, etc. Okay, so that's the second one. Think it's possible. The last part is in the context of you feeling worthy. I love this question. How is my life so awesome? I'll repeat it. How is my life so awesome? Now, when I said that question years ago, my life wasn't so awesome all the time. By asking that question, it invites the universe to figure out how to bring that stuff to you, right? So I asked, how is my life so awesome? And when I got brought in the house, when I was in my early teens, so let's say 12, 13, somewhere like that, about your age, I read books because it was boring being home inside in the summer, right? While my brothers were out playing football and other fun things, right? I wasn't like a prisoner, but they kind of bribed me not to play because my dad would have let me participate if it was touch football. And that wasn't fun for them, right? So I read all these books about places I wanted to go. And then I would ask, how is my life so awesome? Well, how can that happen for me? And I'll show you one picture. This is us in Thailand, right? Now, this is me older with my kids and my husband. Hopefully you can see our faces. Thumbs up, can you see my face?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that place I had never visited, but I used to read books about what was it like to have like 6 people riding on one little motorcycle. That's how they could get around over there, right? Or what would it be like to go and see elephants in their real habitat? Those questions helped all that to happen. Now, I'm mindful of the time, so I don't want to take up too much more, but I'd like to leave you with just the thought that you can do and accomplish anything you want. When I was talking to people about your age group, you know what they said? They said, wow, they're lucky. They've got life in front of them. They can figure out, like you can do one career, you can adjust. You can do a different career, you can adjust, right? I've been able to present and speak with ambassadors, heads of different nations. I've also been able to go and see really, really desperate scenarios, and the US has been able to make a difference. All of that started because I really wanted to do something better with my life. I asked certain questions that you too can ask, and I did my best to keep my nose out of trouble. I'll leave this with, this is just an extra, right? If you want to work for the federal government like I did, I went to school and I was on a Pell Grant. That means I didn't have enough money to get food unless the government or someone helped me, right? And when I went to school, my dad basically gave me a quarter, 25 cents a day. and I could go to the student hall and get like 3 pretzels. So it wasn't like I had a lot, right? But by doing that, it opened doors. So if you're thinking about federal government employment, do your best not to get into drugs. In my environment, you have to take a polygraph. And you could have been as clean as a whistle in every other area. But if you've gotten into drugs, they won't hire you. Now, if it's maybe a one-time, maybe, but it's better to do your best. If you want to be in an environment like that I worked in, keep your nose clean on the drug front in particular, and then do your best to be a good student. Gary, I've got other stuff, but I want to leave it for questions. And then if we answer those, I will come back in. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a great approach. I have 4 questions from students. Let's start off with this question. Temperance, who's in the class here, you want to wave hi? Temperance wants to know this. What was it like growing up as a lady like yourself? What was school like? Did you get bullied?
Thanks, Temperance. So Temperance, I could see your arm, but I couldn't see your face. Stick your face over a little bit more. There we go. Okay, great. So I went to a public school called Garrison Middle School for middle school. And then I went to a school called Western High School, it was an all-girls school for my high school. My parents were so strict that I didn't get to go many places to get into too much trouble, right? What I felt was embarrassed because my parents had me wearing dresses. I looked kind of like the Amish and I wasn't Amish, right? So I had on these long dresses and I was dressed real conservative, right? Couldn't see anything. And so I decided I better make friends with people because if I don't make friends, I thought people might laugh at me, right? Now, my daughter was bullied. We lived in England and she was 4 years old. She was the only little brown person in her whole school. And we had to do a whole lot to address that. Ultimately, we moved her. I'd say if anyone is experiencing bullying, number 1, you know you matter. Number 2, let someone know about it. And then number 3, I think if you tell parents or people who you care about, they hopefully will make a difference and do something about it. My daughter, her name is Catherine. She has a podcast called Chat with Kat. And a lot of that, and she's got like 100,000 followers in TikTok land. A lot of that stems from what happened to her when she was growing up. So I didn't experience bullying myself. I did experience not feeling like I was in because I just had on such, they called it holy roller clothes. So now I try to dress spiffy to make up for it.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks.
All right. Another question comes from Madison, who's also in the class, and she would like to know, what were some of the biggest obstacles you had to face in order to get to where you are now?
Thanks for that question, Madison. So I would say the biggest obstacle, I'm being honest, was in my head, right? Because sometimes I might want to think, can I do that? Can I do that? And I would always talk myself and say it's possible and then figure out a way. Here's an example. I don't recommend this in today's environment, but I'm sharing it as an example. Okay, I wanted to travel around Europe. And so when I turned 18, I decided I'm going to go and see Europe. And I had met someone in a summer camp that my parents hosted. She was supposed to go with me. Well, she canceled 2 weeks before the trip. And I had saved up all my money, anything I got for presents, I put it into this plane ticket. And so I'm like, I still want to go. So my way of trying to be safe back then, I'm 58, so do the math, right? It's a long time ago by your standards. I stayed with the nuns and they made you come in by like 10 o'clock. I did what I could to be safe. But when I got into Rome, I almost got involved in sex trafficking. Thank God it didn't happen. But like the movie, what's it called? Taken. I was literally in a scenario like that, didn't know what it meant, but I started praying and I had never taken a drink or done anything to signal. Really, I just think God got me out of it. And so he released us. But when it was me and 2 other young ladies. He said, Angela, because of you and only you, I'm letting you go. Leave the city tonight. And I did, right? And I tell that story in a lot of settings because my daughters are now 18 and 21 and they want to travel by themselves. If possible, try to have someone to travel with you, but you can do it, right? It's possible. If you have to go by yourself, build in your safety feature. So that would be one example of an obstacle that was there for a reason in terms of safety, but there are ways that you can maneuver around that.
All right, thank you, Angela. Another question comes from Moose, who is in the class also. You want to wait and say hi, Moose?
Hey, Moose.
So Moose asked this question. Were you ever judged based off of your skin color?
Regrettably, Moose, yes. Okay, so you all are part of today's generation where I sometimes think you've got it a little bit harder, right? Because you're dealing with COVID, you're dealing with a country that in certain areas we are not necessarily as united as we ideally could be. The way that I saw the skin color was more subtle because I was oftentimes the person at the head of the table. But in certain cultures, if you're the only person walking around who looks like you, I got treated nicely, but they would also want to come up and touch my skin, or it was novel to them in certain scenarios, like parts of Thailand, you know, even though they have skin to me that's similar in color, they thought we were, I won't say unique, but if you went to like the rural areas, they would ask questions. In other settings, I've felt what I thought was treatment that wasn't so nice that I thought was based on my skin color. But here's how I've dealt with it. Even a racist person is still a human, right? I try to find something that we have in common. Now, if they're calling you bad names outside of your name, that's a different scenario. You can find and ask for adults to help you. But a lot of times hurt people, or they've been taught that and it's not really the case. So yes, I've dealt with it. I tended to try to find what was the bridge that would allow us to have a conversation. If they were blatantly a racist, like calling me the N-word or, you know, something really bad, then in my mind, I said, you're not worthy of me. And I would bless and release them, right? You don't deserve my company. I would bless and release them. So that didn't let poison or bitterness get into my spirit, but nor did I allow their negative energy to make my environment feel toxic. That comes from saying, I'm worthy. I love myself. Abundance is my birthright, right? How is my life so awesome? Moose, does that help?
All right, he's nodding yes in the affirmative.
Okay.
All right, next we have another question that's anonymous and appropriately so. Wait till you hear this one. What was it like having a job that you can tell no one about?
If I tell you, I might have to take you back. So
repeat what you said again, Angela.
I said, if I tell you, I might have to take you out back. You know, the men in black, you've been, what's that word? You've been something, you know, when you can't remember anymore. All right, you all know what it means. You're acting like you never watched it, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it was fun to have a job that I couldn't tell people about. But in case you can't tell, I like to talk to people. So, but I was scared to talk to people. It's just Angela, right? I was always a spokesperson at work, but I was never on social media or anything like that, in part because of my job. I knew that what we were doing protected America and her allies, and I knew that lives were saved because of our work. So when you got a bigger reason for why you don't talk about it, it makes it okay. If it were just stay quiet because, you know, it didn't have any real meaning, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. But they used to say loose lips sink ships. So you don't want to be the person who ran your mouth and then, you know, it caused the death of people that were patriotic, people who loved our country. So it was sort of fun, right? I miss being able to talk about some of it, but it was still fun. And I love that I work with the military, all four branches. And I love that I got to see the whole world. You don't have to work for just the Department of Defense. You could work for State Department. You get to travel lots of different federal places. If you love travel, give you that opportunity.
All right, well, Angela, that's all the questions I have. And we have about another 5 to 10 minutes before we will stop. So
I've got more.
I'll kick it back to you.
Okay, so in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to share some stuff that I believe strongly about abundance, right? Now, I left, what's it called? I guess a handout with your, I call you Professor Crump. So if you want to get this in like soft copy form, I've sent that to him. And Gary, you have my okay if they want it shared to their email. I don't know how it works in student land, or you can give it hard copy.
Sure.
Okay. So here's what I've learned, and this is in the last 2 years, right? Now, at this time and stage in my life, I would say I'm solidly middle class, right? I won't call myself rich, but I'll say solidly middle class. I live in a really nice new home because our other one was ugly as heck and it got flooded and it knocked down. And I'm about to move back to England this summer because my husband's job, he's with the Department of Defense as well, will be living in Harrogate, England. It's really nice over there. Most of the things that have happened to me, I believe, started first in my mind. That's why I'm highlighting this to you. I want you to really think for a second. Shut your eyes for me. And I want you to just think for a second. If money and time weren't any problem, what would I really want to do? If money and time were no problem, no issue, what would I really want to do? Okay, open your eyes again. Whatever that was, I hope it wasn't just, I want to be a rapper. You can decide that, but think about something that, you know, maybe it's quietly in you, but you're hesitant to say you want to do it, right? Abundance thinking says it's possible. Abundance thinking says, hey, why is my life so awesome? And for me, I now put my hand on my heart every day and I say, I love myself the most, right? You may ask me, why do you think that's necessary? Okay, your parents probably tell you that they love you, right? But there's a difference between your parents telling you they love you and you knowing that you love yourself. I recently discovered, even though I had all this external success, that inside, way down inside, a part of me didn't feel worthy. And I was surprised because I thought, hey, I'm doing all right. What I remembered was how it felt when we were giving all those clothes away, when we were serving people who were really, really suffering. I used to think, well, I must not be that important because my parents are giving everything to everyone else. And they grew up in the deep South and maybe they didn't know that, hey, you should keep some back for your kids, right? So I've had to do work in the abundance area to really, from the inside out, to know that I'm worthy, and from the inside out to know that abundance is our birthright. What does that mean? If you hear your parents say to you, money doesn't grow on trees, you don't have to say back to them anything because you want to be respectful. But in your mind, you can know that's scarcity thinking. That's not abundance thinking, right? Abundance thinking says, whatever it is that I want in life, it's possible to get it. And I'm going to just start thinking about that. And I'm going to make pretend I'm in that environment already. Now, that's not saying that you go and you buy a really big house, because in 8th grade, you probably don't have really good jobs yet. If you do, let's have a conversation, right? But you have the ability to think and you have the ability to dream. And in dreaming big, you will accomplish those things. I'm certain that if I hadn't read those books, if I hadn't been pressing those pie shells saying I'm going to college, I don't think I would have the life that I have because I've got siblings who don't have the same life, right? It's a matter of putting your mind to what you want and then asking for help to get there and enlisting a team. So to me, your teachers, they care about you a lot, right? Even the ones who sometimes you think are mean. Now, I had one teacher, she threw a piece of chalk at me. I went and told my mom. And my mom came and had a conversation with her and the principal. I'm not talking about a teacher like that, but teachers who are pushing you to be someone, pushing you to do your homework, pushing you to think and explore, it's because they care about you and they want to see you be successful. I love the fact that you're in the 8th grade because you got 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. You got time to do some figuring it out, right? My daughter, my youngest, is a college freshman. And I'm encouraging her. Her name is Allison. I'm saying, honey, what do you love? Just take classes on stuff that you love. Because in the process of taking classes on things that you love, a thread will start to reveal itself for what you're really good at or what you really like, right? Is this making sense to everyone? Is it connecting? Can I see if it's making connection, thumbs up. If it's not, thumbs down. I think I see thumbs up. Okay, yeah. So the main thing I want to share with you is that whatever you put your mind to, it's really possible to achieve it. I would never have thought when I didn't have enough clothes to go to school that I would be able to share with you how many places I've lived, that I'm about to go back to England to live again this summer. I'm going to visit Italy this summer for a pretty good price, right? Because a friend of mine called me out the blue. I was like, I really want to go to Italy. And she called me out the blue like 2 weeks later and said, hey, I'm going to Italy. You interested? I'm like, yes. So it works, right? The other thing I'll share with you, has anyone heard of something called the dream board or vision board? No hands up. One hand, two hands up.
Yeah, about 10 thumbs up.
Okay, 10 thumbs up. Okay, great. So don't sleep on the vision board, my friends. Here's what a vision board does, right? I just did a new one maybe 2 months ago. And all I did, I went to the store. Okay, you all are high tech. You can go on your computer or you can go to the store, and I purchased some magazines that I liked. I cut out pictures. I got the old-timey glue stick and a piece of paper, and I made a collage of places and things that I wanted to have in my life, right? Now, I did that about 2 or 3 months ago. Here's the secret. At that time, England wasn't on my husband's bucket list. At that time, Italy wasn't on my bucket list, but I put pictures on my vision board of places that reminded me of Italy and reminded me of England, right? It's only been a little bit of time, and I'm moving to England June the 4th, part-time. I'm not going to stay over there because we got a house here as well. And I'm going to Italy this summer in July. My last vision board that I did that maybe 20 years ago. And then we were moving, it got packed up and I didn't see it. We came back to America and we unpacked. I found my vision board. Everything that was on my vision board had come true. That's the power of a vision board. Now, if you don't like to do a vision board, okay, write out a goals list. Write out 10 goals, 10 things that you want to accomplish. There was a Harvard business study that said just the process of writing them out increases the probability of them coming true in your life by over 80%. I had a friend, Pat, every year, she was a Harvard Business MBA graduate. Every year she would write out goals. All right, don't laugh at me. It took me 5 years. You see those fingers? 5 years before I got hip and I started writing out my goals, because every January around her birthday, she would call me up and say, hey, let me tell you about my goals. And as we would go over them, she had accomplished all those things. Maybe one would be on there that wasn't accomplished, but by the next time around, that was accomplished. So vision board, if you don't want to do that, write now goals. Gary, I don't know what time we're looking at, so I can keep going, or should I wrap?
I think it's time to wrap up. We're at 1:13 and class is going to end soon. So please take this opportunity to wrap up. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say to you all, because I'm really, truly honored to get to speak to who I see as our future. And I don't say that lightly, right? You're going to be around, God willing, when, I'm hopefully in a different dimension in 50 years, right? I'm not trying to go anytime soon, but hopefully you're going to live healthy. You're going to stay around. You're our future, right? The reason why I was so excited to come and talk with you, I don't want you to underestimate how important you are. I want to be one of the Miss Forbes in your life. I want you to remember something about this conversation as you figure out who you want to be and get ready to go to your next class, right? It's possible for you, my friends. Take that with you. And if you don't think about anything else, maybe ask the question, how is my life so awesome? Even if it sucks in certain areas today, asking that question invites the universe to bring you answers. You don't have to do the work. The universe will go and figure out how to bring awesome to you. That concludes what I have to share with you today. If you have any questions or follow-up, I'm willing to your teacher to answer them, right? Or if you, are looking for any insights on somewhere that I've lived, I'm willing to share that as well through your teacher. I want to make sure I'm done the proper channels, but I'm willing to help you. All right, well, I'm looking forward to reading about you. And maybe one day you'll say, yeah, my teacher had this lady come in and she said such and such, and I tried it. And then you'll be able to give the same story to a future class yourself.
So, Ms. Crump-Volcy, is it okay to share your contact information with the students?
Yes, my email is great.
Fantastic. I will provide them with that information. And with that, thank you for coming today. Can we give her a